Gillian Shaw joins me online right now for the second installment of the big internet hit, the massive internet hit, Dotto and Shaw. How are you doing, Gillian?
I am very well, Steve. How about you?
I'm good. It was a busy week in the world of tech. Last week ended up with Microsoft sending out a cryptic note to pretty much the entire media community that covers high tech, saying that you're going to want to pay attention on Monday. We got a big announcement on Monday. Speculation was all over the map. I personally thought they were going to do something around Xbox 360 and finally tell the world all the different cool things that it does and start to market it more effectively or announce a new console. But I was as wrong as can be. Did you see the Microsoft Surface on the horizon?
I believe the rumors. There's not a rumor goes by, Steve, that I don't like to follow. And that the Microsoft's new tablet was long rumored.
Yeah.
And Microsoft is also, the iPad has got, shall we say, a lot of traction in the market. So
Oh,
the question was, how long was Microsoft going to wait on this one?
and the answer was not that long. Although what we really got wasn't all that much when you think about it. They just said they showed some things. They showed one kind of cute feature that caught everybody's attention, but we still don't know much about this. So the bottom line is Microsoft has announced a brand new tablet architecture. The biggest news in the whole thing is they aren't going to turn to their traditional manufacturing partners to manufacture this. It's not going to be made by HP and Lenovo and Dell. It's going to be made by Microsoft. So they're basically flipping the bird to the channel and saying we're going to go the Apple model by building the hardware and software ourselves.
That's right. And in fact, in the latest news, Steve, we heard that the manufacturer they have chosen, or at least this is the latest rumor, is the same one that assembles iPhones.
Oh,
Interesting twist.
that is interesting. So but let's talk about the devices themselves. They announced two different, quite a bit different tablets. One smaller one that's really designed more for, I guess, the home and student school market, and then a professional model.
They did. The first one is the Windows RT, and they both have the same screen size, which is what is it, 10.8 inches, just
10.6
slightly
inch.
10.6.
Yeah.
Dyslexia there, Steve. But it's just a tad bigger than the screen on the iPad. So it's sort of just looking at them, they look the same. But the second one, the Surface Windows 8 Pro, is the heavyweight, both
Yeah.
in terms of what it does and in actual weight.
Yeah, and some of the departures, it's first of all massive as amount of storage, 64, 128 gigabytes of storage. And here's where it's going to be interesting. Microsoft is including stylus or pen support, which I think is really important. When we look at how businesses and how people are going to utilize their tablet, the one weakness that I have with my iPad, and actually you're Skyping with me right now on your iPad, so it's obviously a tremendously flexible and powerful tool. But the one issue that I have is making notes on it. And you have to find, basically the applications bring up a little screen so your hand can rest so that you're not, because the entire screen is active in the Apple environment. So making notes and resting your wrist on the screen is impossible. So note taking, the actual writing on the iPad model is near to impossible. Whereas
Well,
Microsoft had some brilliant note-taking potential in their capability in their previous versions of their tablet computer. I think we're going to see that sort of technology. And so as a note-taking computer, it might well be superior to the iPad.
well, and there are a lot of business applications and business case uses, Steve, where that could be the deal maker or breaker. I write a lot about just different businesses and the way they use it. E-health is huge. A lot of medical folks are walking around with their tablets, their iPads or their Android tablets. And of course, one of the things, and I've seen that at conferences and shows, addressing that whole need for, say, doctors or nurses or whatever, medical technicians, or it could be in any other field where people have a tablet and they just want to be able to jot notes. That's a real use case, and one that Microsoft is clearly addressing.
And the fact that they've made their professional version also running a full version of Windows. It's not a mobile version of Windows. It's Windows 8, so it's going to be far more feature rich as far as its security, as far as its networking capabilities, being part of an enterprise. It's all going to be there.
You know, it is, and that leads to the question, Steve. What do you think? I mean, is this tablet only, or is this kind of just a more of a hybrid, and more of a hybrid than hybrid tablet computer than, say, the iPad
Oh,
or
absolutely.
Samsung's Galaxy?
I think you've hit the. Think you've hit the nail on the head. It is a hybrid because they don't have a mobile operating system for it. I mean, planned for the top end version. The lower end version, yes, it will have a mobile version of the operating system, and it'll be probably a little less feature rich. But at the top end, having it run Windows, to me, it kind of go, oh gosh, I don't really want that from one perspective. But from an enterprise perspective, if I was looking at building medical apps, or if I was looking at doing something along that line in field data gathering, there's going to be an awful lot of compelling reasons to take a good hard look at this particular product. And you're not going to have the idiosyncrasies of having multiple manufacturers, of having HP put their own spin on what a tablet should be, having Dell put their own spin on what a tablet should be, which I think has been a huge challenge. All of that bloatware that these people have been adding, and the extra little pieces of user interface on top of Windows that's typically added by a lot of the manufacturers, I think has in the long term caused a lot of challenges in the market.
You're right, Steve. And one of the things, I mean, Microsoft is setting itself apart right away in the tablet market is when you look at this new device, which of course we won't actually see on store shelves or available for order for a few months, but it has a built-in keyboard. It has that pressure-sensitive cover, which looks really slick and comes in several different bright colors.
And that caught most people's attention in the launch. Is this, we've got a keyboard cover, and oh man,
very eye-catching though.
It is eye-catching, and everybody liked it. But you know what it is? In the end of the day, it's another crappy keyboard. It's good. It's not going to be great. It'll probably be okay, and it's probably going to be better than typing on the screen. But it's certainly.
I'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
When they put, the other thing is they have the built-in kickstand, which
Yes.
is pretty simple adjustment to your design, but could be really handy. And it's something that we, of course, can get in iPads. I have my iPad up on a stand right now. Mm-hmm. But what Microsoft has kind of done is, move one step further. So this comes in the box. You open up this new, your new Microsoft Surface tablet and flip the keyboard up. Or flip open the cover, so you've got a keyboard, open the kickstand, and all of a sudden you can be in a business meeting, and you can be taking notes, and you can be
that's where
like we are, without having to buy any extras.
That's where the hybrid version, what you're talking about as far as it being a hybrid, really comes in, and it is the keyboard, the case is going to be a nice addition in it. I think it's interesting that they launched it and they showcased it so much at the beginning, because it is one differentiating factor. And it's one area where they kind of says, look, we're innovative where Apple isn't innovative in this case. It's kind of ironic being innovative going back to a keyboard on a tablet computer, but still, that's Microsoft kind of sticking their chest out and thumping it a bit.
There's some other differences, right, Steve? I mean, they have, some things that Apple has been criticized for not having. And other tablet manufacturers do, like a card slot to expand memory.
Yes.
USB.
USB connectivity, so it's going to be more extensible. Absolutely. It's size and weight, not hugely different from the iPad. What about pricing? What are you hearing about pricing?
Well, I think that's the total issue here, Steve, and that will be the sticking point. See, Microsoft is trying to challenge Apple, and Apple has undoubtedly hit the sweet spot with its iPad, as its market share is showing. So where they have to address this whole price issue, and the question is, do they come in too high and people won't buy it, so they don't make any inroads in the market, or do they come in too low? And then they risk alienating all their partners, the partners that you talk about, or that you've mentioned, that are actually licensing the Windows operating system, and may not be happy if Windows comes in at something that's priced like, say, the Kindle Fire. I don't think that's going to happen. In fact, the rumor is that the price is going to be considerably more. The current rumors, back to the rumors, Steve, that the price of the higher end one could start at $799.
That's pretty steep.
And it's kind of steep.
I thought they had to, just off the top of my head, without really giving it an awful lot of thought, I figured they would have to come in about $100 under a comparably configured iPad. I don't think that they can come in $100 over. I think that's going to be a mistake.
I think I think it looks like the cheapest one, or the
RT
entry level one that we talked about, the RT, Windows RT. The pricing point that's being kind of being chatted about around that is $599.
But that is for a 64 gig.
That's $100 more than the entry level 3rd generation iPad.
But it's got a lot more memory.
Well, it has more memory, but Steve, there are more unanswered questions about this new Surface than there are things that we know, because we don't know. For instance, we don't know exactly how powerful it is. We don't know. Microsoft is coming up against a Retina screen of Apple, which is on their iPad now, on their high-end MacBook Pro. That's a pretty eye-popping screen. We know there's going to be Gorilla Glass on the new Surface.
Which speaks to its durability as opposed to the resolution.
Exactly. So resolution is still, I think they've said that there are a couple of things, clear type or what, but not, we don't know exactly.
Yeah, and that was the thing too as well. In the demonstration on the show, we don't really know how this new tablet is going to work. We don't know. We've seen some concepts of Surface over the last, is it 2 years? I guess about 2 years ago we saw the first demos of Surface, and they've showed some really compelling technology. They showed a coffee table with the Surface operating system.
I know, love
Remember that demo? And then they took a Windows, I imagine it was a Windows 7 or 8 phone, put it face down on the coffee table, and that point of contact instantly told the coffee table and the phone to have a connection, and all of a sudden the photos just flowed from the phone into the coffee table. Now that's sort of a marriage between being able to touch your phone to your tablet. That would be very cool implementation and have some very compelling technology that could be, or compelling applications that could be attached. But we don't know what it's going to have. We don't know what features are going to be built in. We don't know how it's going to handle email. We don't know how it's going to handle web browsing. It's going to have its own dedicated web browser. We don't know. We know, technically that it's got a lot of the same specs as far as batteries as the iPad and a similar type of antenna for doing Wi-Fi and that sort of stuff. Did they even mention whether or not it's going to be 4G compatible as far as the mobility?
Interesting. We know the antennas. We don't know the connection.
We don't know if they're going to be doing deals with any mobility carriers on it. So,
exactly.
So what exactly did Microsoft do with this event? Did they pull the wool over all of our eyes and just basically show us something in their skunk works and not
Very
give us
nice
a lot
pictures.
of information?
They say it's the first one is going to be available maybe late summer, early fall. But really vague on details. No pricing, no exact availability, all that sort of thing. And then, of course, as some people have pointed out, the demonstration of the new device wasn't without its hiccups.
Well, you also had a tremendously nervous presenter.
Well, exactly. So, yeah. I don't know, operator error, device error, those kind of things. You don't want to be having those if you're trying to jump into a market and really wow people. You better arrive at the market with a finished and pretty slick product.
So since we can't talk a lot more about what the Surface is going to look like, let's talk about, just touch on the business that happened as a result of this and Microsoft's about face in now saying to their partners, we're going to have to do it on our own. So we're not partnering with Mr. Dell, we're not partnering with Mr. HP, we're not partnering with Mr. Acer. This is a Microsoft-only product. What do you think the impact of that's going to be?
Well, this is, I said earlier, that Microsoft is walking a very fine line here. They have their own branded tablet, but at the same time, they're in partnership with all these other companies that you talk about, that are actually in competition in the device market. Yeah. Now, this is a first for Microsoft, and you have to think that the Acers and the Dells and the HPs of the world are looking at this pretty closely and probably with a bit of a jaundiced eye, thinking, okay, we're paying to license this Windows operating system, and we're producing devices, in some cases from their Ultrabooks or HP's kind of ill-fated foray into tablets. But they're producing actually in competition in the
And
device.
and all of them are going to be producing Android-based tablets as well. So it's kind of
Exactly.
now Microsoft is in the shoes that Apple was for years, where the Android is now the Windows of the future, and in both Windows, well, the Windows tablet and the Apple are closed ecosystems that only the manufacturer, that only one vendor supports. I will take issue with one thing you said though. You said that Microsoft has never done this before. I disagree. They have with the Xbox 360.
Oh yes. Okay.
So they did, and in there
How do
they.
they, I think I was thinking about in terms of
You're right.
computers. And you're right with the tablets. I mean, everybody has moved to the Android, and it's not like even Microsoft is saying to them, "Here's our new Windows tablet, and we're going to share this, and
Yeah,
you're going to be able to produce your own Windows
Yeah.
tablets." They're saying, "Here's our Windows tablet, and you guys go suck eggs."
Yes, they are saying, and you also said that they're going to have to tread very lightly. And the reason that I brought up the Xbox 360 is they have trodden very lightly with the Xbox 360 because they haven't promoted it to be half of the device it could be, which could affect some of their partners. Because the Xbox 360 has a potential to be far more than just a game system. It's, of course, it could be the media server. It could replace Windows Media Server, any of those sorts of things. It could replace things like Slingbox in your home or any type of media
Exactly.
server.
I mean, it
and
could
they haven't
be
pushed
sort of
that.
the Apple TV, right?
Yeah. Oh, it could be.
It could be all things.
And they haven't pushed that because I think that's out of respect to their hardware partners. So they've already had a piece of hardware that's successful, but could have been far more successful if they'd wanted to screw the channel. Now they're going to have a piece of hardware that in order for it to be successful, they're going to have to screw the channel. Apple's done that for years. And Apple manages to successfully screw the channel, yet have the channel still continue to support them. So we'll see if Microsoft has the same magic.
We'll see.
We will indeed. Gillian, I think we should call it here. We had a good overview of Surface. I'm going to put links to your articles on it and all of the different and some of the different resources that we've had a look at. Next week we'll find some other fascinating news to talk about.
Well, and sometime shortly, I mean, hopefully we'll have one of these new Surface tablets in hand, so we can see firsthand what they actually do.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe we can do a Skype, your iPad to my Surface tablet, and we'll see if we can do Skype that way. That'll be a good test. That might be the acid test. Gillian Shaw, you can find all of her writing at thevancouversun.com. I'm Steve Dotto. You can find my work at dottotech.com. Thanks for joining us this week. We will see you next week.